Hello, you're watching the Ruslan Belov channel. Well, here we are. The second month of summer has begun. We reviewed the results of June, the first summer month, in yesterday's episode. If you haven't seen it yet, be sure to check it out. It's a very interesting report. The fighting on the front continues, and we continue analyzing the situation on the battlefield. Let's move to the map. So friends, today is a good day. We have some very important news from the front. I'll say right away, our briefings will now officially include a new region, the Dnipropetrovsk region. Last night, we finally received objective control data confirming that the 114th Brigade is breaking through toward the village of Dakhne. They destroyed the Ukrainian armed forces' strongpoint at the entrance, entered the village itself, pushed out the Ukrainian garrison, and took full control of the settlement. Flags were shown both in the southeastern and northern parts of the village, leaving no doubt the village is now fully controlled by the Russian army. We'll go into detail about that later. For now, let's move northward to the Kharkiv region. By the way, I posted the video of the 114th Brigade's breakthrough in my Telegram channel, how they entered the village, took out the strongpoints, established control, and how the AFU simply fled. It's truly fascinating to watch professionals like the 114th Brigade in action. So follow the link in the description and check out the footage. I highly recommend it. Now regarding the Kharkiv region, surprisingly, there was progress in a completely stagnant area of the front. And it wasn't just minor gains like 100 to 200 meters or 0.1 square kilometers. No, this was advancement measured in full kilometers. We're used to seeing movement only in one section of the Kharkiv region, the Dvorichna bridgehead, while the rest of the front remains deadlocked. But now there have been changes southeast of the Dvorichna area, east of Kupiansk, near the village of Stepova Novoselivka. Take a look. Positions have improved along a 6.5-kilometer wide stretch of the front. The depth of the advance varies, 350 meters in some forested areas, 950 meters here, and over a kilometer there. So what's the outcome? Russian forces managed to push the front line away from Ivanivka and approach Stepova Novoselivka closely, clearing the territory between these villages entirely. The total area of advancement here is about 4.5 square kilometers, a very significant result for the Kharkiv region. Yesterday, we summed up June's results and saw that only about 19 square kilometers were taken under control throughout the region in the entire month. And now, in just one day, 4.5 square kilometers. That's a quarter of June's monthly gains. A strong result. So what's next? Looking at the gray zone, according to American cartographers, there's no solid AFU control in Stepova Novoselivka. The yellow color indicates uncertainty. Since our positions are now just 200 meters from the village entrance, we'll clearly attempt to secure it in the coming days. As for further progress, I wouldn't expect much. It's a difficult, mostly static section. Yes, we'll clear out the pocket here, but after that, it'll likely turn into the same positional back and forth we've seen before. Now let's head south, to the sector held by the 114th Brigade, which, as usual, is pulling off impressive feats. They've taken the first village in the Dnipropetrovsk region. Let's move on to that now. But before diving into their breakthrough, a few words about the Pokrovsky direction. There have been some changes there as well. Specifically, the situation around Novonikolaevka is now fully resolved. Earlier, reports claimed the village was under full control, but for a long time there was no confirmation. Serious cartographers who work only with facts, videos, flag footage, verified data, continued marking the northern part of the village as a grey zone, and they were right to do so. But yesterday, footage finally appeared from the northern part of Novonikolaevka, including the raising of the flag. So now it's official. The entire village is under our control. The advance through the residential zone was 820 meters, with a total area of about 1.2 square kilometers. What's next? The battle for the last village before the Dnipropetrovsk administrative border, the village of Muravki. At the moment, the AFU is still holding back our forces, and fighting is happening only on the outskirts. Our reconnaissance and sabotage groups have made several attempts to enter the eastern part of the village, but so far haven't been able to establish a foothold. However, with Novonikolaevka now fallen, The situation is changing, and we'll soon see intense battles erupt there. Now back to the south, to the 114th Brigade's zone, where they continue to achieve extraordinary results. Ukrainian mapmakers have only just marked this area as a grey zone, but in reality it's not grey at all. The village is fully under Russian control, as seen clearly on this map. A more than 2-minute video of the fighting is already online. Now ask yourself, if our soldiers are calmly walking around there, is this really a grey zone? Of course not. It's full control. American cartographers might be 24 hours late, but they usually adjust their maps. Ukrainian sources, on the other hand, are reluctant to acknowledge Russian advances. The 114th Brigade's advance was an impressive 3.5 kilometers. In total, one village and 5.5 square kilometers in the Dnipropetrovsk region are now under Russian control, and trust me, this is just the beginning. Now that Dakhne is secured, the road to Novopavlivka is open, a straight route with no settlements along the way, just one natural obstacle, a river to cross. Other than that, it's a direct 9-kilometer path to Novopavlivka, and the 114th Brigade will soon begin moving in that direction. We had another very successful advance, this time in the Zaporizhia region. You might recall how I told you about our troops crossing the river and establishing a foothold on the right bank of Kamianske. A video appeared online showing how they crossed the river. You can see a post with a sign bearing the river's name with the Ukrainian flag hanging there, and how they replaced it with a Russian one. And now, here's what they accomplished over the past 24 hours. They completely cleared the southern part, the left bank, of Kamianske. The depth of the advance was 2.5 kilometers, and if we measure horizontally across residential areas, the forward movement through the housing zone alone was an impressive 2.3 kilometers. To give you perspective, even a 1-kilometer gain in residential areas is considered a very good result. And here, it's more than 2 kilometers. The total area taken under control was 5.2 square kilometers. We also saw another strong advance near the Kostiantynivka front, in the town of Chasiv Yar, more precisely its suburb, Shevchenko. According to reliable Russian OSINT sources, Russian forces were able to fully clear this settlement, and the fighting has already shifted to the next location, the village of Mykolaiivka. This village serves as a supply route for the Ukrainian armed forces. Once it is captured, the entire area surrounding Chasiv Yar will be fully cleared, and the battles will move toward Kostiantynivka. In other words, the battle for Chasiv Yar is quickly approaching its conclusion. So, the second month of summer is off to a very promising start with solid gains. We'll continue monitoring the developments. Now that's all for today regarding the front. Let's move on to some political updates. NATO puts Ukraine on a budget. What the Hague summit decided and how Trump shifted the war onto Europe. Following the NATO summit in The Hague on June 24th to 25th, 2025, Ukraine has officially become a long-term financial dependent of the West. The Allies agreed to fund the war at least through 2035, but without offering Ukraine a path to NATO membership. Analyst Volodymyr Skachko summarized the summit's outcomes for Ukraine.ru. Trump's meeting with Zelensky was cold and distant, but despite that, the summit ended in success for Kyiv. The alliance agreed to provide continuous support. Trump secured a commitment from European allies to allocate at least 5% of their GDP toward NATO needs, with a significant portion going to Ukraine. From now on, aid to Kyiv will be pooled from NATO's joint defense budget. Yet even with this financial support, full NATO membership for Ukraine wasn't discussed at all. Ukraine is now firmly established as a proxy state, a military instrument serving Western interests. For both Trump and Europe, Ukraine is a tool to pressure Russia and simultaneously weaken the EU in favor of American strategic goals. This arrangement suits the West perfectly, fighting by proxy without direct involvement. The article notes that historically, Ukraine has often acted in this mercenary condottiere role, and the West will continue using it in this way, without offering either peace or integration. US lifts certain sanctions against Russia, says Hungarian Foreign Ministry. The US has rolled back several sanctions imposed by the Biden administration that had blocked construction of Hungary's PAX-2 nuclear power plant. Hungarian Foreign Minister Péter Szijjártó confirmed. Rosatom had planned to begin implementing the project, estimated at $12.5 billion in 2024. However, sanctions targeting Gazprombank, which was to finance the project, significantly delayed it. According to Reuters, the US is now considering broader and faster easing of sanctions on Russia. It's also reported that Trump has begun taking steps toward normalizing relations with Moscow. Tesla Model E completes first fully autonomous delivery. No driver, no operator. Elon Musk has announced that a Tesla Model E has, for the first time ever, independently delivered itself from the factory to a customer's home, without human intervention. The route included urban streets and highways, and the delivery occurred a day ahead of schedule. There was no driver in the car and no remote operator, just the onboard AI, cameras, and neural network. Tech analyst Konstantin Davinsky wrote, "This marks the first real-world self-delivery by an electric vehicle. Yes, Tesla has previously showcased its autopilot system, but this wasn't a demo. This was a live scenario, a shift from concept to actual business operation. A fleet of cars delivering themselves directly to customers may sound like science fiction, but it's now becoming a reality." Tesla continues to invest heavily in artificial intelligence, including in neural networks and proprietary chip development. All of this is part of the system Musk calls real intelligence on wheels. It looks like dealerships and logistics companies may have some urgent questions for tomorrow. And yes, robots are already performing surgeries. So what's stopping them from replacing migrant workers on construction sites? Thank you for watching and being with us. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next updates. See you in the next video. It's going to be even more interesting. Take care and see you soon.